Welcome to the Cultivate Beauty podcast. I am your host, Kelli Torrance, and this is a show where we come together and have some honest conversations about what it's really like to work, grow, thrive, and survive in the beauty industry. My guests and topics are all people and things related to what's happening right now in our salons, behind the chair, in the treatment room, in our beauty schools, in our training facilities, at a state board level, and beyond. I'm going to be covering all scopes of beauty. So if you're ready to help me cultivate a fun-loving, passionate group of informed professionals, then please sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome to this next episode of the Cultivate Beauty podcast. We are going to be talking about setting the experience through music, movies, podcasts, Audible in your salon or shop. And I need to start off by just saying that I ate my lunch so fast. I feel like a slug now. So I'm trying to get it together. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I do film this in my salon. Like I am in one of the suites here at the salon that's not being used, obviously. So if you hear other people talking, or you hear the phone ring, or you hear the door chime, like that's salon life, right? It's never really that quiet here. So just wanted to clear all that up. Okay, on to today's topic. So I wanted to bring this up because of a couple of interesting experiences I have had recently where the music didn't quite fit my experience that I was having at these places. Now, I would love for you guys to just pay a little attention to the music in the stores that you're shopping at the salons or studios that you're going to for services. Maybe even pay a little closer attention to the music that you're playing in your space, and let me know what your thoughts are on this topic. Let me know if you've had any weird experiences like the ones I'm going. Not weird, but just let me know if you could relate to what I'm about to talk about. So, when you're setting the experience for your client, most people immediately think of the decor, the lighting, right? The types of blankets and pillows your clients are going to be lying on. When you think about experience, you think about, are you going to offer chilled water? Are you going to have other drink options and snacks available? What type of layout does your lobby have when your client first walks in? What does your front desk look like when your client first walks in? When it comes to choosing the music for your space or the movies you have playing in your space, I think a lot of people kind of maybe miss the mark in the beginning with that one, me included. I'm going to also share with you guys a kind of embarrassing that I've had in my selection of entertainment. First off, okay, let me tell you guys about, I went to a nail salon to get a pedicure. And I've been to this place a bazillion times, and it's always very bright and very lively. There's always lots of conversations going on and people there, and it's very fast paced. And this particular time, I'm there getting a pedicure, and there's a very loud person just a couple of spaces over having this very in-depth conversation on the phone. And to my left, there were a couple of gals there getting pedicures who obviously knew each other, and they were having a grand old conversation. The nail techs were having conversation, and then the whole rest of the floor was, chatter, 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 which is great. And then I realized the music playing was a very day spa, tranquil, calming music. And I was like, it doesn't quite fit the experience that I'm having right now. I think it would have made more sense to have more upbeat music playing in the background. When I hear that calming day spa music going, it makes me feel like, oh, they don't really want us to have conversation. They want us to just sit back and relax and enjoy our service, right? So that's one experience that I had. Now, second experience I had recently was going into a tattoo shop that they do tattoo and permanent makeup. And I walk in, and the first thing I notice as I'm walking to the front door is that I can hear the music from outside the front door. And not that I didn't like the music. Like it was very loud, like hip hop music. I think is really fun music. But I can hear it from outside the front door, right? And I've never been to the shop before. So I walk in and there is no like receptionist desk. There is like a counter with um some supplies that like aftercare supplies, but not like a receptionist desk or whatever. So I walk in and this music is loud and it's aggressive and it's not the radio edit, if you know what I mean. It's and I'm not offended by music with cursing because to be honest, you're going to get some of that here in this podcast, especially when I start introducing and doing interviews and we have very laid back, real conversations with our guests. Yeah. So not that that like threw me off, but it was just so loud and aggressive that nobody in the shop heard the little door chime when I walked in. So I walk in and the shop is beautiful. It's very clean. It's a very open floor plan. Everyone has their own station that's very organized, very minimalistic, if you will, very open and airy. And then you've got this loud, aggressive, like heavy music. So I walk in and check out the studio, like, oh, this place looks, it's really nice. And then I see this face coming towards me, very happy, very bubbly, big smile on her face, comes up to greet me. But the music is so loud and aggressive. And this person is so far away that as I walk up, they're having to shout to greet me. And so now I feel like I either need to not say anything until they get closer to me, or I need to shout back to respond to their greeting. So the music itself, right? It was aggressive. It was loud. Not that I didn't like the music, but maybe just turn down a bit so that number one, I'm not hearing it as I walk up to the front door. And two, so that whoever's supposed to be greeting me can hear the door chime and doesn't have to shout at me over this loud music so that I then don't feel like I have to shout back. So those are my two kind of recent experiences of where the music choice didn't quite fit the experience I was having or expected to have when I went to go visit these businesses. If you want a more day spa feel, then I would suggest playing a soft, easy music that don't really have a lot of lyrics. It's more instrumental. I immediately think of like Bridgerton, right? And how there's now these really fun classical instruments playing current music in kind of a gentler way. That's, I think, a great choice. Or your classic day spa, like tranquil nature sounds and things like that. If you have a more open, inviting, fun atmosphere, then you want to keep your music a little more upbeat and a little more welcoming. Maybe consider the radio edit versions of music so that there aren't a whole lot of curse words that might offend anybody or catch you off guard or distract anybody. If you're going to play podcasts or have Audible books or even movies or TV shows playing, so keep this into consideration. What type of vibe are you trying to create in the space, and make sure that whatever you're putting on that screen matches that vibe. So again, if it is more of a tranquil day spa, chill out kind of vibe, you don't want to have some loud Tom Cruise Mission Impossible action flick on, because that might ruin the tranquilness of the experience you're trying to create. Vice versa, if you're having this loud, fun, chit-chatty kind of experience for your services in your shop, then you're probably going to want movies that are more lighthearted and funny, and maybe something that people don't have to really pay attention to. They can just kind of listen to and zone in and out. I find that older movies from like the 90s are really easy movies to pop up and just have playing. Early 2000s movies, like the ones I went to high school with. She's All That, just things of that nature. Those are really just cute, fun little movies to pop up. Now, I had an embarrassing moment early on. I'm a big Game of Thrones fan. And if you've watched Game of Thrones, then you probably maybe know where I'm going with this. But I had Game of Thrones on, and I was very mindful to only put that show on when the clients I had were either Game of Thrones fans or I knew weren't offended by anything that was going on in these shows. In these shows, there are action scenes, fighting scenes. They can get a little gory. The language is colorful, and there's also nudie little sexy scenes once in a while. So, watching Game of Thrones, have my 3 morning clients, everything was fine. When I went to lunch, I hadn't turned off Game of Thrones. I forgot about it. I had cleaned up, I checked my client out at the receptionist desk, and then I went straight into lunch. Now, from my lobby at the salon, you can't see into my suite. You can hear the movie that's on if there's nothing else going on in the salon. You can hear it, but you can't see it. So I'm having lunch in my office, and my next client comes in about 20 minutes early, which that's a whole nother topic for another day. She comes in about 20 minutes early, and she's probably in her early 60s. She's been with me a few times before. She gets lash extensions done. She's always kind of a nice lady, but never really talked a whole lot, right? So I go out and I greet her, and I just, I'm still on my lunch. Let me finish my meal, and then we can get started. It'll probably take you a few minutes early. Just here's some water, like hang out, relax, enjoy the AC, and I'll be back in a few minutes. No big deal. So I'm in my office and I'm eating, forgetting still that Game of Thrones is on in my suite. And I come out from lunch. I go into my suite to prepare for her service, and I call her back in. She comes in, and we're getting her prepped for her lashes. Now, if you've never gotten lash extensions done before, or you don't offer this service, you're not familiar, when you lay down for lashes, we apply like under eye tape and foam to the under eyes, and we prep you up, and your eyes are closed like the entire time, right? So I'm prepping her, and Game of Thrones is on, and there was nothing real crazy going on at the time. But as I'm about to start lashing her, another little sexy scene comes on. And it's still not clicking and registering to me that this may be not the type of client who wants to listen to Game of Thrones. And I can feel her energy change. And I can feel her, and almost visibly can see her kind of get a little tense. And I'm trying to chat with her. You're like, oh, how's your day going? Are we doing anything different with your lashes today? Do you have any questions about your last fill? Just little talk to kind of get the appointment going. And she's giving me very short answers. And then she says, what are you watching? I immediately blushed. Like, I'm so glad her eyes were closed because I feel my face is on fire. And I was like, I'm listening to Game of Thrones. Do you watch the show? She's like, no. Yeah, it's a fantasy show, and it's on HBO, and it's about this, that, and the other. And she's like, no, I've heard of it. I just don't watch that kind of thing. I immediately was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I wasn't really paying attention. If there's anything offensive, let me put something a little more lighthearted on. And so I switched to, I don't know, I think I like put Friends on or something like that. But it was so embarrassing because here I have this woman, eyes are closed, like my mother's age. And there's this little sexy scene going on TV that I'm completely oblivious to, not paying attention to. And she's lying there with her eyes closed, like, what the heck am I listening to? And so as I'm changing it, I was like so embarrassed. She's like, Yeah, I couldn't quite tell. I heard it while I was in the lobby and then I couldn't quite tell what it was. Um yeah, no, I don't watch stuff like that. Like, sorry. So I took that and sizzled it into my brain so that I don't ever make that mistake again. So now I decide to put on a movie or a show. I make sure that it's something a little, I try to stick with like comedy, something a little more lighthearted, or I throw on a TV show like Friends or Schitt's Creek's a good one. Everybody loves Schitt's Creek. And I like that. Just I'll have something like that playing in the background. Marvel movies are also a fun one that I'll have on once in a while, depending on who my clients are. Um, Another thing to keep in mind is that if your client decides to bring a child to an appointment, which is going to also be another topic for another day, bringing children to the appointments, but you don't necessarily want something inappropriate playing when there's a 7-year-old there. So just keep in mind that, when you are trying to set an experience for your client, it goes beyond just the colors and the decor of the environment, the music, the podcast, the movies, the Audible books that you have playing also go into creating that experience. So keep that in mind. I'd love to hear your stories of when you've maybe gone to a salon or shop and the music didn't quite fit the vibe or wasn't what you were expecting for your experience. Or maybe a time that you maybe accidentally played a nudie scene for a client who didn't vibe with it. That's it for today's little podcast show. I would love for you guys to reach out to me on Instagram at Cultivate Beauty and maybe drop a little comment on a post or send me a DM with topics and questions that you have that we can bring up on our little Friday chit chat episode. So until next time, we'll see you later.